Hello, everyone. Have you ever just sat back and just watched people, wondering what makes people tick and what makes them go around, listen to their conversations? It's amazing that we need all types of people to make this world go around. It's a good thing, actually. It's good that we're not all the same. And if we can stop for a moment, we can learn from each other. But often our pride will stop us from learning from anyone. We associate behaviors and characteristics of others unlike our own. If they're different, then they're wrong. Often people do not take the time to study what's in front of them because this world is a quick fix. Everyone wants a quick fix. We need a quick fix to eat, a quick vacation. We we just need everything quickly. And often this is wrong. Established patterns of behavior are the most trusted things that you can see. Established patterns of behavior are the most objective, critical thing that we can have in life. Because you cannot take away from patterns of behavior. If an institution or an organization or a group of people continue to do the same thing over and over again, that is their true nature. That is their true objective in life. Whether it is to bring down others, to destroy others, to make a quick buck or a quick dollar, whether it is to look for fame, whatever it is. Because a quick fix often inflates the ego, often will relieve a sense of purpose for everyone if you have not taken the time to learn to establish the truth through the practices of established behaviors. Established behaviors really takes time to learn. They're learned from the daily acknowledgement in the conscious effort that you want to understand the techniques and acquisitions of skills of those that you run into, and even of yourself. There's great discipline in understanding this type of behavior. And if you're able to wait long enough, you gather evidence. You gather the truth. And all the quick fixes, which are based upon lies and opinions and beliefs, are often forgotten about. Because patience, discipline, and patterns of behavior establish the truth. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of patience. And we often see this, not just in our daily lives, but into crimes that are committed, in decisions that our leaders make in this country and other countries. What we see is often with crime victims that the victims have been dead for many years. The DNA comes up as the final proof that someone murdered someone or was involved, and that person has already died. Is there justice in this? Well, there's justice in knowing that there was a resolution for the family members and the victim for themselves that the case was solved. So when it comes to crime, yes, there's always justice and knowing who did what. As for the characteristics and behaviors of others, this is a sad truth. When you continuously do the same thing over and over again, and the results don't change, then you're enjoying that type of behavior. If it brings you depression, distress, agony, and a non-productive life, then you are choosing to participate in that non-productivity yourself. If you can honestly look at yourself and say, hey, I do a fair show, I have factual evidence, but you continue to run down other individuals without any proof by using their name deliberately, indirectly, what are you doing? You're not looking at actual facts. What you're looking at is just destroying or trying to have a hypothesis that someone did something when they may have not done anything at all. And then you have the truth about the court system. Well, that's here or there. We live in America, and in America, anyone can sue anyone. The burden of proof is in that courtroom. The final judgment is based upon a jury or the judge in question. So, as Americans, that's what we have to accept if we're going to live in America. We cannot bitch about someone doing something, even if we think it's wrong morally or in public opinion, if it is their right living in America. However, when we are doing something in the court system, we need to have that understanding that sometimes it's a second shot. Sometimes the first shot wasn't about just justice. It was about various things. For instance, perhaps it was about the principle of the matter. Perhaps it was about the establishment of patterns of behavior that have existed in certain areas for years, decades. Perhaps it's the prejudice and discrimination and the unwillingness to think that someone's going to do something just because they're one person or they're a small group of individuals. Whatever the meaning of why people go to court, there's always the core principle of what they're looking for. Often people think it's just money, but it's not. When you're looking for the truth and you have made a decision that you will gather that truth no matter what the penalties, no matter what the objectives from the opposing team or your own team is, you will follow through with it. If your core belief system knows that there has been wrong in a particular situation before. If you have studied and observed a particular situation various times before, and unfortunately you may decide to go back and revisit that situation, you already know what you're getting into because you've already been there before. It's just like this little war we're in right now with Iran and Iraq, the Middle East. We've been doing this since, the late 1990 to 2000, 2002. It's been going on for years. Desert Storm. So, when you go back that far, it's just like war. You go back to something you've already been to before, and you revisit it with new eyes. Because if you go back and you revisit something that you knew existed a long time ago, you are naturally going to have prior experience, background knowledge, understanding of what something was before. But here's a true understanding of something. When you go back and revisit something, it can be more filled with evilness than it was before. That really is mind-boggling. That you can look at something that was evil 40 years ago, and you go back and it's worse than it was 40 years ago. So when you revisit places and you see the evilness, lay down. You see the evilness that was there 40 years ago and it's worse than it was before. What do you think? You think, oh my God, it is worse. So that's what you got to think about. It's just like going to political meetings. What's your objective? Is your objective to make yourself known? Or is your objective to get something done for your community? We have to come to an understanding not everything is based upon. And if it is, it's the wrong thing to be doing. You have to have a core fundamental moral compass in order to be successful and to leave something behind to the next generation. You have to have a moral compass of not to say, I'm completely right. But beauty and success is in the eyes of everyone. Everyone holds their own truth. That is just my truth. So when I examine certain things, I examine them from the perspective of where they were and how they transformed over 40 years. I have that privilege because I've been there and done this before. And in 40 years, a lot of things have changed in Tennessee. Lots of things. But the core fundamental development of the evilness that was there 40 years ago compared to what is there now is very bad. And then you have to look at what comes to the table 40 years later. What comes to the table is a new discipline. And living in the state of Texas, where you have the cartel, where you have smuggling, where you have sex trafficking, and then you had to bring all these other experiences in. What other experiences? Personal life experiences. And after 40 years, your expectation of things that have changed, it changes your whole conscience of life. Because you have lived different things. You may have raised a family. You may have stayed at a job for 40 years. It doesn't really matter the experiences. It matters what the lesson you learned out of it. One major thing that all humans need to recognize is we're put on this earth to learn knowledge, to share knowledge. And if we are unwilling to share knowledge or to accept knowledge, or if we jump ahead of ourselves and we are not able to have the understanding of a message that was being delivered to us from the beginning, then we really cannot comment about that. We cannot comment about a message that was never delivered because it is hearsay. It is based upon your internal knowledge of what you think was being offered. What was that message? If the message wasn't delivered, I mean, you can go out and say anything you want. But if the message wasn't delivered in person and it wasn't accepted, but it was rejected, then maybe that person has no reason to give you any type of message whatsoever if you rejected it in the first place. So, as a human being and as an adult, then each person it rejects a message, even after a long time, has to accept the responsibility that they rejected a message. They owe you nothing. I mean, if you rejected a message and you later find out it was an important message, that is up on you. You're the one that rejected the message. But the one maybe who has sent the message is watching. And maybe it's established goals to see why you would reject the message in the first place. So maybe it's a good thing messages are not always clear and to the point. How do we know? Because each of us we have our own choices. I had a lady the other day tell me that it was crazy to protect someone that you really don't even know. And I've known this person for about 12 years. And she looked at me and she said, "Why would someone do that?" Well, it's a character thing. Not. But let us go into the weekend, a holiday weekend, with the misconception others down for their own belief and understanding or misconceptions who do not always agree with us or that have different views, because that's not the way it really is. But as you go into this weekend, try to take two main considerations. Number one, always look out for your own safety and those that you care for. Whether that's having a tracking device on your phone, whether that's concealing, whether you're carrying a weapon and you're out and about, because it's not just concerning stalking individuals. You could be in a church on Sunday. People are just kind of strange nowadays. I mean, they'll kill you for no reason whatsoever. And the second consideration is try within your own subconscious to think of one thing that you would like to do for someone else. Whether that is a simple act of opening a door, paying for a meal, posting a flyer of a missing individual. And it doesn't matter which missing individual you post, because there are so many missing people in the United States that everyone needs recognition, not just one person. And try to look at yourself and state to yourself, am I as selfish as I appear to be? And if you're going to state I'm a factual person, I look at all my P's and Q's, I dot my I's and cross my T's before something like vomit runs out of my mouth, then stick with that. If it's written, if it's something you believe in and you have it written, then try to stay with what you have written. And above all means, do not think that everything that doesn't have a name associated with it in a written format is really about you. I mean, I write stuff all the time, and I have my little nicknames for specific characters. I've seen several YouTubers try to state who these characters are. I've never replied, and I never will. Because what matters is that I know who they are. And understand this, a quick fix for clicks, money, and views, although it may feel good at the moment, it's not the final solution to anything. If you're going to prove a point, if you're going to prove the truth, you have to have established behaviors. You have to have documentations. You have to have data. And hearsay and things like that, it doesn't work. So sometimes we have to be conscious and have patience. I had a lady earlier this week tell me that she remembers some videos when YouTube changed their narrative and their practices and they were taken down. Yes, TBI stands for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations and the Texas Bureau of Investigations. So you can look at TBI and you can look at either state. People are always bringing attention by calling TBI wherever they are and talking to them, whether it be in Texas or Tennessee. It could be in Arkansas, it can be in Arizona, it could be in California, it doesn't matter. What people tell these bureaus of investigation is their private business. What people tell a judge as a friend of the court is their private business. So when people come back and they say, oh, how dare you do something like that to anyone, not just myself, it's really none of our business what people do like that. If they have a conscience and they feel something needs to be out there, then, or law enforcement needs to be contacted, then they should do it. It's just like this campaign with Green Hoodie. For the last 10 or 11 months, the Sebastian's army has deliberately went on this freaking campaign that I am Green Hoodie. Okay, and they have done some very obnoxious and nuisance things concerning myself. They have called authorities. They have threatened two YouTubers in general. I mean, they just keep at it. And, you know, I thought about 4 weeks ago after they received a call that they would stop this. But just this week, someone opened their mouths again and started again. The only thing I could say about that, there's two things. Number one, I don't like green. I don't wear green. I wear black and white. Black has always been my color. It always will be. Number two, if you're riding my ass, I can live with that. I can live with you all doing your bullshit with Green Hoodie. Because I know down deep inside, torturing or berating or causing a that you would be doing it to someone else. But understand this at the same token. When you do things like that, and you have a lot of patience, okay? Sooner or later, someone's going to foot that bill. And it will not be me. Someone on your team will foot the bill for what you all have been doing. And whether that, you know, it's really sad. But when it comes time to pay for that bill, all hell's going to break loose. That's just the way it is. I'm already aware of that. I could care less. Because when you do that, to individuals over and over again, and you have no proof. And the sheriff's department of Sumner County said, hey, look, so, Green Hoodie has already been cleared, and you all continue this over and over again. I mean, what are you doing? You have no proof. There's no factual evidence. You're lying. And then you continue to tell lies about events that never happened. You act like you're continuing to try to create a lesson with life. That's not going to happen. There's no life lesson there. There's a life lesson of bullshit so you can get your click and views and your little bit of fame. But what disturbs me the most is individuals do not have the understanding or the capacity to acknowledge their own willful intentions of doing wrong to these children on social media platforms. Just last Tuesday, we had someone on a YouTube channel, and a child was mentioned, and some inappropriate activities were stated about this child. And this goes back to the same thing that I'm always talking about. Okay? And this has to do with the main concept that children cannot be a consideration for those who will laugh at others, putting these children and condemning their freaking souls. As adults, who in the world, sit down, Raven, who in the world will get in on a YouTube live last Tuesday and Wednesday and make fun of a child who will soon be an adult and laugh about their freaking soul? Okay? Another person did that. I mean, and the description that they gave me was I had demons coming out of my skull. Well, that's here or there. I could care less. I already know who God is to me. But unfortunately, when people continue to attack these young people, these children, on YouTube, I often look at them and I'm saying to myself, why would you do that to young people? Who gives you the right as a human to condemn anyone else's soul? Now, I know sometimes that we as humans, like it was mentioned about Charles Manson on this live. Well, the person stated what they believed about Charles Manson. But I'm here to tell you that a young person that they were talking about at the time, that young person's name should never have been included in a sentence or comparison with Charles Manson. Even people looking for that child should not be put into the same characteristics as Charles Manson. We all know who Charles Manson is. Any child who is endangered or who is missing should not be in a sentence when a comparison is being made to demonic entities or Charles Manson. Okay? And I just find that insulting, and I find that highly offensive to anyone who is stating that they believe in helping advocate for children. But who am I? And you know what? I'm not going to give up on stating that people should not condemn young people's souls, because we as adults and we as humans, regardless of religion, have no right to condemn another person's soul. And that's even if you don't believe in God, okay? I'm not here to judge you. What I am here to do is to state that no young person without background knowledge should be condemned by any adult. No adult should include a child's name when they're speaking about individuals like Charles Manson. I mean, let's get real. Why would you have done that? That's obnoxious. It's really getting out of hand when individuals are trying to rehash the same information over and over again. I would like to see more positivity concerning these missing individuals. And everyone has everyone has good ideas. I mean, both both teams, or I think there's three teams. I think there's, but I'm kind of weird. I think there's Sebastian's team, the green team, and the dark side, and then I think there's something else. And I think that is called Sebastian's team. And yes, I'm speaking about Sebastian. And I tell you why I say Sebastian's team. Because one day, if Sebastian's found, this is what's going to happen. Sebastian is going to find a platform where neither the Sebastian's army or the dark side is going to advocate for him. They're going to go through the premise of, well, we did what we could to help find this child. Okay? And they're going to, and Sebastian, if he's watching all this, he may be thinking to himself, why would they call me names that are inappropriate? I went to church. I know about God. Why wouldn't anyone in my immediate circle take up for me? That's here or there. I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong. I just know as my own human being, I would be fighting very hard for no one to say that about my loved one. Number two, why is everyone calling in stating that I have done particular things, especially to my sister Faith? Why would someone say that I did that to my sister Faith? Okay? Is there a police report? No. Is there a CPS report concerning Sebastian? No. But some individuals are still carrying that narrative. Why would you allow that? Why would you even participate in doing something like that to a missing young teen? So, when Sebastian, if he comes back and he states things, and he is visually seeing all of these things, he's even seeing his family members threaten each other, okay? And as a society, as a public entity, what have we encouraged? What has been encouraged? Oh, keep it up. Keep it up. Let's see who has the highest voice. Let's see how many of us can destroy each other, okay? And this young man is going to look at his immediate circle, and then he's going to go out of that circle, and he's going to look at what society has been doing to his name, to his reputation. And has everyone carried his name? Have they held it high? Have they stated all the good of Sebastian? No. Have they stated all the good of all the people they speak of? No. It hasn't been done. I'm sorry. What has happened is it has gotten more personal with the creators themselves. Someone the other night I was watching stated, I didn't do that. I am better than that. Well, you know what? If you really cared about what others said about you, you would keep to what you state in your narrative on your show. But I'm here to tell you, if Sebastian comes back and he looks at everything, I would have those questions. And I have been condoned before because from the beginning, this is what I believe. I could care less about the adults. And if Sebastian were ever to come to me and ask me for help to go against the creators who personally attacked his character and those that lied on him, I would help him to the end. Because what has happened to that young man and what has been done to Summer Wells is atrocious. But let us not forget this. Back in 1992, there were two other young children that lived in Tennessee. Of course, the internet wasn't like it is now, that the same thing happened to. Then there was, of course, the three Memphis. The same thing was done to them. No proof. They were hung on the crucifix just because they wore black. So the hangman's noose has always been in Tennessee. Of course, it's other places. But the fact that people now in a digital era will take a young man's name and they will drag it through muddy waters and dirt and cow shit is just beyond my belief. So, the last thing I like to say in consideration of all these kids on YouTube, you really, as adults, should have a moral compass to put these children aside and to think they don't have the background knowledge like adults do. They have not had the experiences that we have had. They cannot compare and contrast like we can. And if you don't believe that's important, then maybe you shouldn't be speaking about children. But you take it for what it is. It's not about adults. If you're an advocate for a child or a missing person, you don't need to publicly come out and say, oh, I'm an advocate. You don't need to show all your business, because people will try to destroy what you yourself have established and your beliefs and your core principles of helping others. Not everything we do in life has to be publicized. But what does have to be publicized is a comparison of missing individuals to Charles Manson. Absolutely absurd and inappropriate. So, you guys have a good weekend. Please understand that one person can make a change, whatever change that it may be for you. Maybe you want to work on a new law. Maybe you want to get a crosswalk for your community. Maybe you want to go out and get medical equipment for people who don't have